Drink Pepsi Black for max taste, no sugar. Pepsi Black time, 12 hours.
The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the Newstalk Radio Newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
A very good day to you with the news at this time. I'm Ron Robinson. First, the lead stories. The accused murderer, Kapil Deo Gangadin, who allegedly killed 21-year-old businessman Ganesh Prasad at Strathspey, East Coast, Demerara, has escaped from the Lusignan prison where he was on remand. The police have 3 Kanji Berbice men in custody for possession of unlicensed firearms and marijuana possession. Police have arrested 2 suspects, including a juvenile who robbed an overseas-based housewife and her son of their car and valuables. Guyana has vaccinated 74% of its adult population with the first dose COVID vaccine, while almost 47% are fully vaccinated. Regionally, in Suriname, the 3rd dose of AstraZeneca booster vaccination is being provided to anyone 60 years of age or older. The government of Antigua and Barbuda is mandating employers with 5 employees to ensure they are vaccinated to operate their businesses. And internationally, the latest airstrike on the capital of Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, Mekelle, has killed 6 people, including 3 children, and wounded at least 27 others, a nurse and residents have told BBC. Those are the lead stories. The details of these and other stories in a moment.
Not seeing returns on your dollar? Then advertise with Newstalk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM and see results. We give you competitive rates, wide coverage, appealing programs, streaming online worldwide on them waves, and we give you value for your money. You'll see returns when you advertise with us. Call our helpful staff today on 223-1056 or 223-1041 for those competitive rates. 103.1 FM, accurate information blended with great music.
And now the news in detail. The prison authority has confirmed that murder-accused Kapil Deo Gangadin, who allegedly killed 21-year-old businessman Ganesh Prasad during a robbery on Friday, October 15th, escaped from the Lusignan prison this morning. Prison Director Nicolan Elliott says Gangadin was housed in the quarantine unit at the penal institution. He was able to tamper with the tent unit, which gained him entry into the prison farm, where he jumped the gate and escaped into the nearby dump site. He was discovered missing during a routine check at 4 a.m. this morning. A mobile police patrol had arrested Gangadin, and the jewelry of the victim was found in his possession. Gangadin, at the time of his arrest, admitted to committing the offences. He stabbed 21-year-old Ganesh Prasad in the neck and robbed him of cash and jewelry. Prasad died while receiving treatment at the privately owned Balwant Singh Hospital, East Street, Georgetown. The police have 3 Kanji Berbice men in custody for possession of unlicensed firearms and marijuana possession. Police say ranks on patrol in the Kanji Calabash Creek area yesterday, Wednesday, noticed 2 men, 39 and 44 years old, in a boat acting suspiciously. The ranks stopped the boat and carried out a search and unearthed 4.5 kilograms of marijuana. The men admitted the illegal drugs belonged to them, and they were immediately arrested. And in a separate search, acting on information, the ranks went to the home of a 51-year-old male cash crop farmer at Kanji Creek, East Kanji Berbice, who was at home when ranks arrived. The ranks conducted a search in his presence and found a Stevens USA-made 16-gauge shotgun without number and 1 Russian-made 16-gauge shotgun along with 26 12-gauge cartridges under his mattress. The suspected firearms and cartridges were shown to him, and he was then told of the offence committed and cautioned he remained silent. He was arrested and, along with the two other suspects, the narcotics and firearms, taken to the Central Police Station, New Amsterdam. Charges are pending against the men. The police have arrested a 34-year-old hire car driver of number 72 Village Quarantine Berbice and a 16-year-old juvenile who have confessed to the robbery of the overseas-based Guyanese housewife, which occurred on the 25th of October 2021 at number 73 Village Quarantine Berbice. A third suspect is being hunted. The overseas-based housewife and her son were robbed of a vehicle and valuables after returning from a wake at number 73 Village Quarantine Berbice. The suspects had carted off $150,000 in jewelry, a phone and other items valued at $60,000 and one Fielder's wagon car bearing registration number PTT 864. The suspects used the said car to escape the scene. The bandits had forced their way into the house from the door to the lower flat of the two-storied building. President Irfan Ali told the COP26 United Nations Debate Climate Convention that action is needed to mitigate the effects of climate change and commitments delivered to safeguard small island and low coastal states. President Ali says climate change continues to be one of humanity's foremost existential threats. Despite setbacks occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, global greenhouse gas emissions have rebounded. He reminded that science has emphasized the importance and urgency of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the end of this century to avoid irreversible changes in our environment.
Deep emissions reductions were needed and needed now if we are to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. We must deliver an outcome at COP26 that demonstrates our resolve to protect human life and biodiversity. Delayed climate action is unthinkable. We are faced with no other choice but to act now or consign humanity to doom.
He told the 26th conference that failure to ramp up overall ambitions will result in higher and unbearable economic and environmental costs. The failure to agree to and take bold and ambitious action will be tragic for all, especially for small island developing and low-lying coastal states. President Ali called for specific actions to be agreed upon at COP26.
COP26 must restore confidence in international cooperation, such as that which led to the historic Paris Agreement on climate change. COP26 must manifest a revitalized spirit of international solidarity and more equitable sharing of responsibilities, particularly on the part of the world's largest emitters. COP26 must be underscored by an emphasis on implementation and honoring commitments. COP26 must result in decisions that will allow for the transfer of financing and technologies to support mitigation and adaptation in small states.
President Ali committed Guyana to play its part in reducing emissions and providing the world with critical climate and ecosystem services through its low-carbon development strategy, which is to be expanded to include protection of biodiversity, freshwater management, and the protection of the marine economy. Guyana has vaccinated 74% of its adult population with the first dose COVID vaccine, while almost 47% are fully vaccinated. The health minister is, however, saying that with one dose, an individual is not fully protected against the severe form of COVID-19. He is appealing for the large number of hesitant persons to get the second dose to do so.
Again, I just want to emphasize that, as you can see from these numbers, we have second doses lagging, and therefore those persons who would have received a first dose, we want them to come and get a second dose. Some people might believe that because we have a requirement, at least you get one dose of the vaccine and you're considered vaccinated. While that might be for administrative purposes, for the protection of your health, if you don't get both doses, then you are not going to get the benefits of these vaccines.
As of Tuesday, October 26th, Guyana has vaccinated 379,435 adults with the first dose of COVID jab, and 240,025 adults are fully vaccinated. In the 12 to 17 age category, 17,647 children are fully vaccinated and 27,055 are partially vaccinated. The health minister says Guyana is ready to administer Pfizer jabs to children ages 5 to 12 when the approval by the United States Food and Drug Administration and Centers for Disease Control are issued shortly. The passing of an unvaccinated 64-year-old man yesterday from Region 4, Demerara Maheka, has pushed Guyana's COVID death toll to 900. The Health Ministry has also recorded 82 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The data shows 78 persons who are infected with COVID-19 are hospitalized. Of that number, 25 of them are seriously sick in the COVID ICU. A further 2,926 persons who tested positive for the virus have been instructed to isolate themselves at home. Guyana's total COVID infection since March of 2020 has reached 35,252 cases and 31,328 persons recovered. Region 4 remains the region with the highest number of positive cases, totaling 16,789. The Ministry of Public Works has confirmed that the MV Kanawaima is fully operational again between Guyana and Suriname. Public Works Minister Juan Edgel says the ferry began plying the route between Molson Creek, Guyana and South Drain, Suriname on Monday, October 25. Minister Edgel says the arrangement that existed previously between the two countries continues, and the MV Sandaka has been pulled from servicing the route, which was a temporary arrangement. The ferry connection itself was discontinued in March 2020 after Suriname registered the first COVID-19 infections and closed the borders. When the connection was restarted, the ferry Kanawaima could not be used due to technical problems. The Kanawaima was taken out of service in December last year and has since undergone a major overhaul. The cost of the ferry's repair has been shared between Suriname and Guyana. The Kanawaima now sails once a day to and from Suriname. At our regional news, the third dose of AstraZeneca booster vaccinations is being provided to anyone 60 years of age or older in Suriname. Priority is given to kidney dialysis patients, people with reduced resistance due to an immune disorder or medication, and or provides direct care to people with COVID-19. Health officials say to be eligible for a booster vaccination, it is important that the person has had 2 doses of AstraZeneca and the period from the last shot is at least 5 months. The Ministry of Health says in a press release that the booster vaccination offers extra protection to people whose immune system needs extra stimulation. As a result, the immune system is better prepared for a possible COVID-19 infection, and these people have the same protection as people who have received 2 doses. Public Health, on the advice of NITAG, a subcommittee of the Technical Advisory Committee on National Immunization Policy COVID-19, is calling on a number of groups of fully vaccinated people for an extra dose. NITAG advises to switch to the booster vaccinations in order to save more lives. The number of infections is still increasing daily and creates challenging social and economic situations. The aim is to normalize responsibly as quickly as possible so that the resulting situation becomes operationally bearable for every citizen. The Health Ministry says vaccination sites are open to everyone every day with extended opening hours. In more news from Suriname, a bank manager, Anuradadibi M., was arrested on Tuesday for embezzlement, fraud, violation of the Money Laundering Act, and forgery. The Central Criminal Investigation Department, CCID, says they have the female manager in custody. Officials say the case has since been handed over to the fraud department. Anuradadibi M. has also cooperated with investigators and indicated to the police her role in the criminal offence. Entrepreneurs gave the bank manager large sums of money which she had to exchange. She has recently received both SRD and currency. Investigators say the scheme was uncovered when she failed to relinquish currency of certain amounts. One of the victims is said to have become so angry that he had Miss Anuradadibi kidnapped. Officials say she was also beaten and left behind. It is still unclear exactly how many people were injured. The government of Antigua and Barbuda has agreed that the public health regulations will be amended to mandate that all private sector employers who employ more than 5 employees will be required to have all staff vaccinated in order for them to continue working. Meanwhile, the Information Technology Manager at the Celeste Bird Medical Center, Mr. Osbert Josiah, who was also invited to update the Cabinet on the progress of the country's vaccination card, under a program jointly managed by the ministries responsible for health and information technology. The country is moving towards a card that has a QR code that stores the holder's vaccination information and allows for quick and easy authentication. The Cabinet was treated to a demonstration of the technology. Essentially, the QR code, when scanned, gives authorized agencies access to a live database with real-time vaccination status. Also, when a person receives a booster jab, that information is updated and almost available immediately. The country's vaccine card system has been receiving commendations from all over the world, as Antigua and Barbuda is one of the first countries to implement such a system. It will be deployed for use within the next week or two. Cabinet commended the team and agreed that the partnership between the two ministries is an example of best practices that should be emulated within the wider public service. Premier David Burt has warned Bermuda of rising prices, global challenges, and the increasing toll of the COVID-19 pandemic, saying things will get worse before they get better. Speaking at the opening of the 56th Annual Progressive Labour Party, PLP, Delegates Conference on Wednesday night, he said Bermudians face a new challenge. The United States, our major trading partner, he said, is experiencing rising inflation, which is having a ripple effect in Bermuda. He says global supply chain challenges mean that prices will increase in the supermarkets and in local shops, which are putting more stress on Bermudan families. The Premier says Bermuda, like many countries around the world, is coming out of the pandemic in a very difficult space, and there will be demanding times ahead, and it is likely that things will get worse before they get better. Burt called on the next generation to take ownership of the future by getting involved in the party. He says transformational change could not come from sitting on the sidelines. The coronavirus pandemic, which has claimed 100 lives on the island, has left the island's already struggling economy in tatters, with the national debt approaching $3 billion. The PLP has been in power for all but 5 of the past 23 years, after toppling the now defunct United Bermuda Party in 1998. It lost the 2012 election to the One Bermuda Alliance, but regained power in a landslide in 2017 and increased its majority to 24 in the 36-seat House of Assembly in a snap election last year. When he led the PLP to victory in 2017 at the age of 38, Burt became Bermuda's youngest ever premier. And now for international news from the BBC.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. There have been intense battles between Tigrayan fighters and Ethiopian federal troops and their allies in the northern Amhara region. The fighting is concentrated around the key towns of Dessie and Kombolcha. Kakadan Yibaltal reports from Addis Ababa.
There has been yet another day of fighting as the war in northern Ethiopia approaches its one-year mark. There are fears for the tens of thousands of internally displaced people in Dessie. Both sides have been claiming victory, but the statements can't be independently verified. Meanwhile, there have been airstrikes in Mekelle, the Tigrayan capital. The authorities in Addis Ababa say they are targeting an industrial plant that's being used by the rebels in their war efforts. But rebels say the targets were residential areas and civilians were killed in the raids.
A fourth day of protests is taking place across Sudan against Monday's coup. The demonstrations are smaller owing to a heavy security presence. Many businesses, banks and roads are closed. The UN Special Representative to Sudan has met the military leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. He urged him to release detainees and restore a transitional authority which includes civilians. Local media say the state news agency has been closed for the first time in more than 50 years after being taken over by the military. A banned Islamist organisation in Pakistan says its supporters are continuing with their march on Islamabad, a day after clashes with security forces near Lahore. 5 police officers were killed and many others wounded after they tried to disperse the protesters. Shamaila Jaffrey reports.
The protesters are demanding the deportation of the French ambassador from Pakistan because drawings of the Prophet Muhammad were published in the aftermath of a deadly Islamist attack on a school teacher in France last year. The protesters faced no resistance as they entered Gujranwala in Punjab. But trenches have been dug on the highway leading to the capital, apparently to stop the march, with stepped-up security and barriers placed at entry and exit points.
Russia has registered its worst daily figures yet for coronavirus infections and deaths. On the day, Moscow entered a partial lockdown. More than 40,000 new infections were recorded. For the third day in a row, more than 1,100 people have died. Restrictions are being tightened amid fears numbers could rise further. A cardiologist from Moscow, Dr. Yaroslav Ashikhmin, says the government should take measures to force Russians to get the vaccine.
They strike the society due to their thoughts about the harm of vaccination. I think that it should be financial measures, not only the punishment or other benefits. Higher taxes for people that don't like to be vaccinated, for example.
You're listening to the World News from the BBC. The UN Crime Agency says it's recorded Asia's biggest ever drug seizure. Police in Laos intercepted a truck carrying 55 million amphetamine tablets and over 1.5 tonnes of crystal methamphetamine. The UN agency said there'd been a significant increase in drug supplies to the so-called Golden Triangle, the intersection of Laos, Thailand and Myanmar. China has formally complained to the United States after Washington's decision to revoke the license of its main state telecommunications company to operate in the US. The Commerce Ministry in Beijing said the move against China Telecom, linked to US security concerns, constituted malicious suppression. The Lebanese judge investigating last year's massive explosion in the port of Beirut has suspended the questioning of the former Prime Minister Hassan Diab. The former Prime Minister and 3 ex-ministers have been charged with negligence over the incident, which killed more than 200 people and devastated parts of the capital. From Beirut, Tom Bateman.
Judge Tariq Bitar's investigation has still to make any major progress. Hassan Diab was Prime Minister at the time and was due to be questioned by the judge this week. But on Wednesday, he filed a lawsuit against the judge himself, suggesting he didn't have the legal authority to interrogate him, and the former leader's questioning is now suspended. Many of Lebanon's political elite may have useful information for the probe, but few have appeared before it. There's been pushback from the powerful factions and a campaign trying to discredit the judge himself.
Officials in Kenya say dozens of health workers have failed English language tests that would have helped them get jobs in the UK. The health minister said only 10 out of 300 people who applied for work with Britain's National Health Service passed the exam. English and Kiswahili are the main languages of instruction in Kenya's universities and technical institutions. BBC News.
And now to end the news, a look at the lead stories once again. The accused murderer, Kapildeo Gangadin, who allegedly killed 21-year-old businessman Ganesh Prasad at Strathspey, East Coast, Demerara, has escaped from the Lusignan prison where he was on remand. The police have 3 Kanji Berbice men in custody for possession of unlicensed firearms and marijuana possession. Police have arrested 2 suspects, including a juvenile who robbed an overseas-based housewife and her son of their car and valuables. Guyana has vaccinated 74% of its adult population with the first dose COVID vaccine, while almost 47% are fully vaccinated. Regionally, in Suriname, the 3rd dose of AstraZeneca booster vaccination is being provided to anyone 60 years of age or older. The government of Antigua and Barbuda is mandating employers with 5 employees to ensure they are vaccinated to operate their businesses. And internationally, the latest airstrike on the capital of Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, Mekelle, has killed 6 people, including 3 children, and wounded at least 27 others, a nurse and residents have told BBC. And that's the end of the news.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.